Hello everyone, welcome back to the LangChain Masterclass series. In our previous videos, we explored the foundation of large language models working with prompt template, chat prompt template, and other core concepts that help us interact with AI models efficiently. And today, we're diving into a very important topic that can dramatically improve how our AI agent handles output, which is structured output. So structured output allows us to define a clear, predictable format for the responses we get from AI models. Instead of receiving unstructured text that we need to parse or interpret, we can directly tell the AI exactly how we want the output to look, whether it's a dictionary, a TypedDict, a Pydantic model, or even a JSON schema. This makes our AI agent more reliable, robust, and easier to integrate into real-world applications. Now, you might wonder, why do we even need structured output? Let me explain with a few real-world scenarios. Often, AI model returns text that's inconsistent. Sometimes a number is written as text or keys are missing. Without structure, we spend extra effort trying to extract the correct information. And if you're building an agent that populates a database, generates report, or interact with APIs, unstructured output can lead to errors. Structured output enforces rules on the AI response, AI reducing mistakes. Next is when the AI's output is predictable, we can easily automate downstream processes from form filling to choice making workflows without manual intervention. And next, using typed outputs or Pydantic models allows us to validate the AI's response instantly, ensuring it matches the expected format and types. So, in short, structured outputs bring clarity, reliability, and robustness to our AI agent. And in this video, we'll explore 4 different ways to implement structured output in LangChain. First with TypedDict, then with Annotated TypedDict, then with Pydantic, and finally with JSON Schema. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to enforce output structures in your AI project. So without any delay, let's start with the first project where we implement TypedDict for our structured response. In this first project, we are going to implement TypedDict class in order to structure our output response. So first of all, let's import our LLM class. So this time I'm going to use LangChain Grok, and from LangChain Grok I'm going to implement or import chat Grok. Then to load our credential from .env, I'm going to do load.env. Then from typing, I'm going to import TypedDict as I said. Then I'm going to load my credential. Then in place of our model from chat Grok, I'm going to use our Llama model, Llama 3.3 with 70 billion parameters here as our large language model. Now for the schema, I am going to define a class. Let's call it review. So this will be of type TypedDict. And then inside this, what I need is a summary, which will be in the form of string, and then a sentiment, which will again be a form of string here. Okay. So first of all, let me first show you my prompt. So in the place of prompt, I'm going to put a review of a hardware or a gadget, and then based on that particular review, I will try to extract the summary and sentiment of that particular review. So first of all, let me copy this prompt here to make it easily readable for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do word wrap so that you can easily read what the prompt is here. So first of all, what we're going to do is we are directly going to call our chat Grok model and then basically see the limitation of what I've been talking about before in the theoretical part. So let me directly call this model. So model dot invoke and then call our prompt in this and basically print the content of our response. So if I run this, so if I activate my virtual environment and then run the class here, so Python, this is inside the third folder and then the first example. If I run this, then the output we get from the model will look quite messy. So as you see, the output is not exactly what we want. What we basically want is a summary and then the sentiment of the review, but it contains a lot of text. We haven't received a precise response from the model. So in order to get a precise response from the model, what I'm going to do is I am going to enforce a structured model here. Structured model using model dot with structured output, and then enforce my review schema provided or created above. Now, if I generate a new response or basically invoke the model, response equals to structured model dot invoke, and then provide a prompt. And basically, if I see the content, let me rerun this again. So, okay, I'm not going to clear this. I'm just going to run it on top of this here. So if I rerun the code again, I should get a precise response here, basically a summary as well as the sentiment. Sorry, it should not be response.content. It should only be a response out object here. So let me rerun this. Then as I see, I have been provided a sentiment as well as a summary, just like I asked for, instead of all these bloated text box or text that I have. So in this case, the response from the LLM is not precise, but with structured output, enforcing the review schema that I've created using TypedDict, now my output is very much structured and in the format that I actually want. So for the next program, I'm going to do the same, but with much more details on these keys provided here using the annotated keyword. So let me create a new file to annotated TypedDict.py. Okay, first of all, I'm going to import the LangChain grok model, import chat grok, and then from .env import load.env, and then from typing I will import TypedDict, annotated, and then optional. So again, my model will be the same as the previous model. So I'm just going to copy these two here, these two statements. So basically I want to load my credentials and then load my model here. So I'm going to again create a schema. The schema will have a type of TypedDict as its type here inside its parameter. But here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a few more keys here. So the first key will be key themes, and then this will be annotated list of strings, and then I can also provide the additional information of what kind of content should be in key themes. So this will include must write down all the key themes discussed in the review in a list. Let me do word wrap so that it will be easier for you to follow. My next will be a summary. This summary is going to be an annotated string, and then in the explanation part, it will contain must write down a brief summary of the review. So basically, you're going to write the exact stuff that you want in this particular key here from the model. Next is going to be a sentiment. So sentiment is again going to be an annotated string, and then I will do must return sentiment of the review. Basically, it had given me a neutral sentiment, right? So I will ask the model to either say positive or negative only, not neutral. So the model will never provide a neutral sentiment in case of the response. I'll also show you the use of the optional keyword that I've imported here. So for the prose, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change its type to annotated list, or before doing the list, so I'll keep an optional keyword and then list of string, and basically write its explanation. So write down all the rows inside a list. So since this is an optional parameter, if it can find any kind of prose in my review, it will basically show it, or else if it does not find anything, then it will not return anything for prose. Now this particular prose is going to be an optional keyword. If it can extract the prose, it will. If it cannot, then it will leave it blank. Then I can do the same for cons. I'll just copy this for now. So for cons, I will write down all the cons inside the list. Okay, so since this is done, I am going to convert my model into a structured model using the with structured output function, and then enforce the schema that I've created earlier. Now let me create my prompt. Now since this prompt is again too long, I'm just going to copy this, and then you can follow or pause the video and then basically see what it is in the prompt. So this particular prompt is about this Google Pixel phone, and then it talks about the user shared reviews, and then stuff like that. So basically this is the review that I will be working on. Now next, what I'm going to do is I am going to call my model with this particular structured model that I've created, and then invoke it passing the prompt here, and then I'm going to print my response. So it should provide me key themes from the review, it should provide me a summary, it should provide me a sentiment, and then if it is available, it should provide me pros and cons from the particular review. So let me clear this and then rerun this code again. So now the file will be annotated TypedDict.py. Run this and see what happens. Okay, so since it found some cons, so the cons are low GPU score, may struggle with demanding games. It also found key themes. So the key themes are GPU performance, Google Pixel 10 Pro, and mobile gaming. It also found some pros: may fail faster in everyday use, may perform better for AI tasks. The sentiment is negative. If I had given an option to also generate a neutral sentiment, it might have written down a neutral sentiment here, because there are both pros and cons in this particular review. And the summary is that the Google Pixel 10 has a lower GPU score than its predecessor, the Pixel 9 Pro, and other rival phone, which may affect its style in demanding games. So this is how we enforce our model to get the output in a specific structure using an annotated TypedDict as well as the optional keyword in the TypedDict part. So now for another code, I'm going to use the same or enforce the structured output using Pydantic. So we'll create a new class, 3.Pydantic, Pydantic response.py. And then first of all, I'm going to import my ChatGrok class. So that will come from ChatGrok, import ChatGrok. Then from .env, import load.env, Then from typing, I'm going to import TypedDict and annotated and optional, and then a new one called a literal. I'll show you why we need this particular keyword here, and then where do we implement it. And then from Pydantic class, we import base model and then field. So if you haven't used Pydantic at all, then please you can install Pydantic on your system using pip install Pydantic, and then basically do this code here. We might not need typing at all in this particular case, but we will use this literal as well as the optional keyword here. We might not use the TypedDict part in this particular program. So now, like in the previous video, I'm going to copy these two lines here, the load.env as well as the model part. So now these two are implemented. I'm going to create a class called review, or just call it a schema. And then inside this, instead of importing TypedDict, I'm going to use base model from Pydantic class. So again, like earlier, I will have key themes. Key themes is going to be a list of string. I can keep it as annotated, but here, since we have this field variable, so for the explanation part, we can use this field. We can use this field class from Pydantic to explain what we exactly want in this particular part here. So in field and description, I can write down the key themes discussed in the review in a list. So let me do word wrap again here so that you'll see everything what I have been doing here. So first is going to be key themes, then the next is going to be a summary. The summary is going to be string, and then for the explanation part, I can use field again. So description will be a brief summary of the review. Then I can have sentiment, and in place of sentiment, I can use the literal keyword to enforce the exact stuff that I want. So the sentiment can be pause or negative, indicating the positive and negative sentiment. And then I can have a field for the expression part where the description is going to be return sentiment of the review. Then I'll have prose. Again, the prose is going to be optional, but it is going to be a list of string. If it is present, then for the expression part, I can use a field. So if we don't have anything, then it can return none here. So the default value is going to be none for optional. And then for the explanation part, I can write down all the rows in a list. And similarly, for cons, this is also going to be optional, list of string. With field, I can first define a default value, none, and then in the explanation part, I can write down all the cons inside a list. Okay, finally, I will also add a name here. Again, the name is going to be optional. So, and then the explanation for this is going to be, so first of all, we'll have a default because this is optional. So default is none. And then especially in the explanation part, I can explain that you need to write down the name of the reviewer. Okay, so all of these classes and then the parameters are based on the Pydantic base model class, and then the field function or the field class from the Pydantic library. Now I'm going to convert my model. So structured model equals to model dot with structured output. So I'm going to pass in the review and then to strictly enforce the model to follow the exact guideline that I provided, what I can pass in is strict equals to true here. So this will, okay, it's not review, it's schema, sorry, schema class, and then strict equals to true here. Okay, now for the prompt, I'm going to copy the same prompt that I've used earlier. So let me just copy this prompt. So this is my prompt. You can pause the video and then see what it is, or I've already shown it to you in the previous code here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the model using my structured model dot invoke. Okay, where is invoke? Inv, okay, invoke, and then pass in the prompt that I have, and then I'm going to print my response. So we can enforce a structured output from the model using the Pydantic class too. So let me run this code and then show you what the output is. So 3.pydantic response.py, it is running, and then I can see that I have key themes, which is GPU performance, benchmark scores, gaming capabilities. The summary is Google Pixel 10 Pro, GPU something. We have pros, and then we have cons, and then we have a name, but this is not a person name here, right? So I'm going to enforce the model or like enforce it to write down the person name of the reviewer if found in the review. And then I'll also provide additional information like generally found at the end of the review. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass a sample reviewer name, say like John Cena. So the review is done by John Cena. So the code is saved, and then if I run this again, then I should get the reviewer name too, and then here it is, the reviewer name is also present. So in this way we can enforce a structured output using our Pydantic and using our Pydantic class here. So finally, at last, we're going to use a JSON schema to force our model to provide a structured output, and then we'll do that in our next program. So for that, I'm going to create a file again. So this will say JSON schema.py. Here I'm going to import LangChain grok first. Import chat grok from .env. Import load.env from typing. I might or might not use this, but anyway, I'm going to import everything. So TypedDict, annotated, literal, and then optional. And then from Pydantic, I might not need Pydantic in this particular case here. So, okay, I'll not do Pydantic for now. And then, okay, what else? So I need to load the credential and then reload the model again. So I'm just going to copy this model reload part. Okay, so here in place of schema, I have prepared a schema or a JSON schema here for the output pattern that I need. So I'm just going to copy this from here, and then I'll show you what it contains. Okay, so let me close this and then see this JSON schema from the very beginning. So the title is the review, type is object, properties are key themes. It should contain a key theme. It will be in array, and then each array item should be with type string, and then it also contains the explanation here. Then again we need a summary in the form of string, and then it also contains its explanation here. Then we need sentiment, it can be positive or negative, and then we have our string here. I'm not going to put on neutral in this particular case. Then we need our pros, this can be an array or this can be null, since this is optional. And then if we get an array or a list of pros, then it should be in string. And then this is the explanation. And then finally we need our cons. We have an array or a default value is null. If it is present, then it should be in the form of string. Each cons should be in the form of string. And then this is the explanation. And finally we need a name, which can be a string or a null. And then I have extracted the name of the reviewer. And then all of these parameter key theme, summary, sentiment are required, and all other exceptional parameters are all other remaining parameters are optional. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a structured model. So from model dot with structured response, with structured output, and then pass in the JSON schema that I've just created. And then to ask it to follow it strictly, I'm going to pass strict equals to true. Again, I will have the same prompt that I had earlier. So I'm just going to copy this and then paste it here. So I have this prompt. Now, based on this prompt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke my structured model. So structured model dot invoke, and then pass in the prompt here, and then finally print my response. So if I clear this, and then it is not saved, so let me save this. And then if I run this code again, so the code is now 4.jsonschema.py, I should get my structured response here. So I have cons, I have key themes, I have pros, I also have a name, and then the sentiment is given as neg. Since I only give pause and neg as the option for sentiment here, basically pause and neg, then I have a summary of my review. And that is a wrap on structured output in LangChain. So today we explored how to make AI responses predictable, reliable, and easy to work with. We started with TypedDict and annotated TypedDict, then moved on to the Pydantic model, and then finally saw how to enforce structured using the JSON schema here. So by using these techniques, our AI agent can now return consistent, validated data, making them far more robust for real-world applications, whether we're building chatbot, data extractors, or automated workflows. So I hope this video helped you understand not just how to implement structured output, but also why they are essential for professional AI development. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos in the LangChain series, where we'll continue exploring advanced AI agents, concepts, and implementations. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.